Hey guys. Hey Storm. Hold on. Hey, welcome guys. Welcome. I guess I really should be playing piano because every time I play piano, somebody leaves. So I guess if it's not a good idea, then I'll take it off the list. I just do it to wait for people to show up. I don't need to play piano here. I'm just doing mostly to have a smooth transition as we get people into the program. So, hello, folks. Hello, MG. Hello, Twist Mint Storm on YouTube. And hello, Darlene on Periscope. So, yep. Yeah, I play music and they leave, so can't be a good thing. That should tell me. So uh, that's a hint, folks. So anyway, glad to have you here tonight. And just again to remind you, my Twitter account is back on. Rob Music Tech, same as that. That account is back on. So if you, hello, Darlene. So if you want to connect with me on Twitter, I don't usually want to talk in Twitter, but just in general, if you are connecting with me on Twitter, I'm not monitoring the other account. Again, I don't usually monitor it. It's the business one. So if you would bring your conversations, if anything, back to the normal Rob Braxman Tech account, I appreciate it. And for those of you who didn't hear it, the account was suspended for in error. Apparently, the account was suspended in error. Apparently, because they identified it as part of an automated run to catch spam bots, and it just got caught up with that, and it was a mistake. So, and I lost, like, I don't know, 150 followers, I think, from that shutdown, because people, got worried that the account was suspended and they unfollowed me. So anyway, so the Twitter account is back on, and just hello, Alan. How are you doing? How are you doing, Alan? So hello, Nancy. Is that Nancy Pants, or is that Nancy Pants? Do you change name? It's so hard to remember every single. I have over 30,000 followers, and I actually remember most people, and that's a hell of a lot. Sometimes I have, like, just an idea. No, that's not Nancy Pants. That's a different Nancy. Okay. So I'm I just want to make sure, because they're after conservatives. I don't have any political statements on Twitter whatsoever. So no, it's a they emailed me saying what a mistake, and they were restoring it. Took them 4 days. 4 days to restore my account. So that's kind of frustrating. So anyway, also kind of more just housekeeping stuff. My YouTube has surpassed 4,000 hours last Thursday. So we're way beyond. I just lost everything on my Facebook. Good! Nancy, that's perfect. You should lose some more stuff. How did you lose stuff on Facebook? Thank you, UK Gem. Thank you for inviting followers, UK Gem. I appreciate that. Let me follow UK Gem. You don't even have a picture in here. You lost all your pics. As long as you can guarantee they lost it, that would be perfect. If they lost it, that would be perfect. Unfortunately, they don't lose anything. So, did you lose it because you lost control of your account? I haven't been in Periscope very much. Twitter, following what has been happening with Assange. Yes, so that's a broadcast I did last Thursday, Darlene, on the Assange thing. So the current update is that he has been found guilty of skipping on the bail, and the judge was unhappy with him, and so was May, the prime minister. And let's see, who do we hear from? The Labour side in the UK was not happy. The Tories were happy. The Labour was not happy. In the United States, the same thing. I don't know now, but I have 5 accounts. Huh? Let's see. The Trump himself doesn't have any opinion, but it was Jeff Sessions that initiated the the indictment of Assange, and Trump said, "I don't know anything. I know nothing." And apparently, Holder, the prior Attorney General during Obama's time, said he couldn't. Couldn't. He didn't think it was smart to file do an indictment. So anyway, so that's what it looks like. The supposed crime that he committed would have been a crime for just about every journalist. So it's going to be crazy if that ever happens. But I want to see what happens with that, because they're basically saying if a journalist goes to a source and say, "I encourage you to give me more information," then that would be a conspiracy. Zuck. That's pretty crazy. So where's the First Amendment there? It's like, we really have the First Amendment, but we don't. We got to be careful because they're going to go say, well, if it's against Big Brother, I guess we can't really talk about that, because it'll be labeled a conspiracy, so whatever. So anyway, this is really a good point, because if you're one of those people that are like press and people with things to hide, you may want to hide on the internet, and you may want to know how to do that. And today's topic will actually fit that. It reminds me, going way back here to the 80s, guys, but the movie War Games. Anybody remember the movie War Games? And then the guy on the island, the guy who did the software for the Whopper on the island, and he was hiding on his own island, right? And in today's world, you can't do that without some proper thought. Want to play a game? Tattoo, not that island. Wrong island. Maui. Is it David? David. Yes, David and the island. So, when Matthew Broderick and what's-her-face, went on the island, and they wanted to find out what the secret is. Gilligan, and he was hiding in the island, and it kind of goes to show this guy was hiding. He's pretty high tech, and yet he was hiding. And how do you do that in today's world? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. It's just fun theory. I mean, I don't need to. I'm in the middle of a city. I can't hide. The plane. I used to do that so well. Boss, the plane. I can't even do that anymore. BTC, when's BTC on? You mean BTC is not on right now? BTC is doing fine. So hodl your BTC. Looking good. We'll probably, give it a little bit of time. It'll probably go up to 5,900. I go off grid, but trying to keep pedaling this bike to keep the power going is wearing me out. Sounds like that movie, what is it? Soylent Green. You got to go pedal the bike to get power. Soylent Green. So that's that movie. So let's say you're, I was just wondering about this, and I actually did research of this. What if you're in that island in Washington State, and you needed internet? And I was like thinking, how do you do it today? Old school movie. Yeah, too old school for many of you guys, because you're all young ones. So I was like thinking to myself, how do you, in today's world, because a lot of you are not even informed, what the new tech is. You probably don't even know how you get internet, let's say on a boat, or how do you get internet on an island? How do you get internet in some rural part of Minnesota? How do you get internet in some, camping, some hunting lodge in Canada in the middle of the wilderness? How do you do that? So actually you can. Or how do you get internet in Iceland? You could use radio to transmit internet. Yeah, it wouldn't be secure though. The you can actually do this if you have a ham radio. You can actually do some sort of slow slow internet. It's not very fast though, but it's it could be functional because could be they'd have to get some triangulation for ham radios to go find you. They probably don't even have that equipment anymore for triangulating what ham radios. It probably doesn't even exist. That's so old tech. Nobody knows how to do that. But that's certainly an interesting thought if they could actually track you with ham radio. But yes, there's some software you can use that can send signals through ham radio, and it will encrypt it in as probably like static on ham radio, and then it will be interpreted as data, and you can kind of like send files slowly over the internet. Lucky I'm in a city. Lucky you're in the city. Slow like AOL dial. Oh yes, Paul. Yes. How are you doing, Tony Buck? How are you doing, Paul? So, and I thought, being a boater, I thought, oh, maybe, what do you use for internet? Satellite phone. And you know how slow those satellite phones were back in the day, and they were very expensive and very slow. Many, many movies about satellite phones, and I actually checked those out, back then, and I said, this is kind of useless. I mean, who needs dial-up speed? Because that's about all you get, dial-up speed. So you get dial-up speed when you use that kind of internet. But times have changed apparently, even just from this year, the last year. But actually, they're doing pretty good. So this year they've changed. So you can actually get satellite internet now, and satellite internet is actually competitively priced. You can get satellite internet in any rural area. Where's Doug? Doug is always complaining about his internet in his area, and he's saying, that he doesn't have any source of any other internet. Well, the reality is that if a city or town does not provide internet in your area, that the internet satellite internet is actually pretty much the same price as long as you're not looking for super bandwidth, but for standard stuff, like let's talk about Tor router speeds, Tor speeds. Tor is 10 megabits per second, typically when you use Tor. At that speed, it's same price as anyone else. Even on it, pretty much matches the price of land. So you can get satellite internet now for $50 a month. $50 a month. The Onion router has so many layers. We'll talk about the Onion router, my version of the Onion router, a little later. But this is, I do want to talk about this. This is my version of the Onion router, a little later. But apparently you can get get a personal locator beacon for emergency for boat. So you can put internet on your boat and travel with internet on your boat anywhere in the zucking world for $50 a month, and you can reach it from it doesn't cover every place, I guess, because it's the satellites are stationary, so they're really made for the US. So it depends on what area they have it. I don't know if they overlap. Hello, however, it's psychomofo. There you go. I just never know how to pronounce that. Hello, Doug. So Doug is saying he needs faster internet, and I'm telling Doug what to do. He can get satellite internet. Satellite internet. So satellite internet, $50 a month gives you, I believe, 10 megabits. No, actually more. I think 30 megabits download and 3 megabits upload per second. So that's pretty reasonable. I had satellite internet. It's terrible. Which brand did you have? Thoughts on 5? I have no thoughts on 5G. Iridium. No. Forget about Iridium. We're talking about. That's the old tech with old satellite phone in the movies. That's like in the '90s movies where they use iridium satellites. Some places, if you don't have DSL or a cable, I think you could get line of sight, microwave. Yeah, HughesNet is not doesn't have good reviews. HughesNet is not uh, it's not good. Yeah, Viasat is the one that is cheaper, also better service. They have new satellites, so Viasat. So HughesNet apparently is not good. Iridium has updated to top technology. They're not on the top of the list for satellites. The top two for the number one. It's a small company even for the number one because they only have three satellites. The number one is Viasat, and they only have three satellites. They may have a high ping, but ping is just to establish the connection. Once the ping is done, then that shouldn't matter so much. Kind of like Tor. Tor is if you ping on Tor, it'll take a long time because it has to transit towards many servers. But when you actually send the data once the connection is established, you don't have to do the return. You're sending in a burst. You have good internet now. Anyway, it's just interesting. I'm just letting you know that So if you're in our theoretical case, you're saying, well, I need to kind of not make my location too known. How would I do internet where my location isn't precisely defined? So the way to do it is one of the ways to do it is to use satellite internet. My ping used to be. I'd watch the videos, and when would you have this, Doug? Because they have a new satellite last year, and the ping their demo shows a ping rate of like 700 milliseconds, approximately. So yeah, that doesn't tell you anything. The ping itself is not the story. I mean, ping itself doesn't answer the question. Because obviously there will be a delay with that if you want instant response. But if you're doing a download, I can get ping. That doesn't mean anything. This ping stuff is people are thinking that the ping is what has the traffic. Traffic comes in bursts, so it doesn't have to go verify every ping. You send it in a burst. You send typically you'll send it in 64K chunks or 256K chunks of data. So there's no need for this ping. It's in one way you send it over, and then you wait for a confirmation. So there's no need for all these super fast pings. So it's except unless you're gaming. So the ping rates are like gaming issues. If you're doing gaming, then you can't do that. So anyway, let's establish for what the difference is. Let's say between satellite. It is like a Tor browser. Yes. Let's like a Tor router. Let's compare your local ISP. So I'm using Spectrum. So let's compare Spectrum. Hello, open source. Good night. You're leaving already, open source. You come and you go. And by the way, please watch me on YouTube if you can, guys. Please watch on YouTube. So what's the comparison between using? Let's say you're David from the War Games movie, and you're hiding out on the island. And let's say that there's an underground cable and you do have DSL option and you can use DSL. So the question now is, how are you going to connect your house? Are you going to have a wired connection to Spectrum, or are you going to use this is for somebody interested in protecting their identity and location. How would you do that? Would you use Spectrum versus internet satellite? That's really a good question, because I'm going to tell you that your ISP knows exactly where you live. They send the cable guy over. And they actually go in there and do the wiring and all that. and they know exactly what part of the pole you're getting your circuit from. So when they give you the IP address, they know exactly who it belongs to. Versus if you were on a satellite internet, you could theoretically install it yourself and pay the bill from wherever, and they get paid by a credit card, and uh, they don't really uh, meter doesn't mean anything in today's world, Doug. Yeah, you're metered for 50 gigabytes. Homer Simpson, the cable guy. So you put your own satellite equipment up there, and you point the satellite wherever it's supposed to go. And then this is just theoretical, and I'm saying to myself, that's interesting, because they don't have a pinpoint location of where you are. I'm not sure that satellite is actually tracking exact locations of where somebody's picking up the signal, because it's actually the reverse. The device from the bottom is going up and then bouncing a signal up onto the satellite. I don't know if the satellite is going down and saying, "I'm going to go find you." Yes, if you go over, you pay through the nose or risk being throttled. I think that's the old way. When was this, Doug? When was this? I've seen the plants today, and they seem to be different this year. They seem to have different plans. I'm not proposing that you do that you go do this. I'm just thinking about it in a theoretical point of view, from a privacy perspective. And I'm just starting from the internet service, because obviously the ISP. Now, why am I even mentioning this? Because your ISP can see everything you're doing. So it does bother me when the ISP can see everything you're doing. So to me, that is a big concern, because it's like, that they can track every activity that you do on the internet. Hughes had Gen 5 now, but I don't know much about them now. Yeah. So it's a concern to know what your ISP can do. Whoopi Goldberg went on The View and said, "Oh my gosh, our emails are being read. Shock, shock, shock. Oh my gosh, we better have these new laws to protect us from that." And hello, Rob. You're not on YouTube today. Oh, you are on YouTube. You are on both. Thank you for being on both. So, good night on Periscope, but hello on YouTube, open source. That's awesome. Thank you for being here, open source. My wife can see everything I'm doing. Maybe you need your own internet. She's sitting right next to you, so she can see. They can see the metadata. They don't see just the metadata, Doug. Come on. I can't believe, Doug, he actually sent me email, and it's like, look, I can send you email, and it's like, Zuck, Doug, you want anybody to get your email and identify you within 6 Zucking feet, apparently. My ISP sees nothing. Levendi equals Unix. Very good. Having fun with Unix, Levendi. I kind of gave up on Unix. I can't even get it running on my new Windows. Unix is very difficult to run now on the new computers, because they put locks on the VM side, and to enable things on the BIOS, like you can't even run Tails. They've disabled USB booting and so on. You got an email, Gmail. Obviously, I have an email because it's, some of you pay, on PayPal through it. So, but I don't respond to emails. You already know. I only use the email to see who you are and where you live. So I look at your email, look at Doug's email, and said, okay, Doug decided he was going to send this without Tor. And so Doug decided, I'm going to send this email. I don't need Tor. I don't need a VPN. And I'm just going to show you exactly where I live. Of course, I already know where Doug lives. But, anybody who sends email to can look at that and say, Okay, there's Doug's house, and I see Doug's car. And I looked at Doug's car and said, new headlights. I'm trying to help raise your numbers on both platforms. Thank you, Rob. New headlights on Doug's car. I saw that through a satellite. Doug, is that true? You have new headlights. I actually rather enjoy using the cloud-based Tor router on Bytes VPN. Yes, Levendi. Yes. Yeah. You instead of using Honix, you can use Byte Store is much better than Honix because Honix forces you to use devices that are no longer compatible. I'm not able to use Honix too well because it's so incompatible with so many devices. Aside from being super slow, it's it's slow to do anything. It's so sluggish. Yeah, you already have a slow internet connection as it is. On top of that, it's super slow to actually even traverse with it, and you're already on Linux, and it's like super slow Linux. So it's like I don't know. Should we use an alternate DNS? Not if you're using Bytes VPN. You don't need any of that because Bytes VPN already hides you from the DNS anyway. When Bytes VPN uses a DNS, the DNS provider, which is in my case the ISP for the VPN. That's what I set up as the DNS provider. The traffic will appear to come from a server inside the ISP, so it doesn't tell them anything. Is 55 megabits considered slow internet? 55 megabits is super fast. Yeah, you can do anything with 55 megabits. 100 megabits is ultra fast. There's now places where you can get 400 megabits, but it's not really going to work with Wi-Fi. Most Wi-Fi will, if you have 2G, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, you're going to be stuck at around 10 megabits on 2.4G. You need multiple channels of 5 gigahertz to reach even 100 megabits, and to even utilize that, you'd have to either be wired or have lots of people. Yes, but you can't do your Wi-Fi at 500 megabits, so at least individually. You're going back and forth. Individually, you can't. I got one, not individually on Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is not gonna handle that. So Bytes VPN ain't your grandma's VPN. Yeah, you don't have to think about DNS when you're using Bytes VPN. That's not an issue. Cubes is more usable. No, Cubes is even more incompatible. Cubes requires you to have a limited set of computers. Any newer computer doesn't work with. So you're gonna have to find an older computer that's compatible, and aside from the weight of the older computer and the lousy screen, then you're going to have to deal with that. My Netgear is 300 meg. It doesn't, Doug, that's not the actual throughput. Bytes VPN uses open DNS servers and you are safe. It does? So Cubes is so much Cubes is so incompatible. So, I also gave up on Cubes. That's why I made Bytes Tor. I hear all, for example, AT&T has 5G, and they said it's not really 5G. It's like 4G plus. It's the network speed. Yeah, correct. Yes, I'm switching. Mine does 1.3 gigabit per second wireless AC. Yes, but that's not your throughput web circuit. I often perform DNS leak tests on Bytes via VPN, and it passes every time. Oh my gosh. Levendi is like checking Bytes VPN. What else are you checking at Bytes VPN? I'm sure it will pass the test. Did you try Bytes Tor? Why are you just checking Bytes VPN about Bytes Tor? So anyway, let's say that you are in this island with David in the War Games movie, and you say, well, what kind? Let's say that I chose to be on satellite internet because it's much more private, and it's less like they don't know unless you gave them your home address to where you pay your bill. You can always pay with a corporation, like I do. I part of the thing that I do, with a lot of things that I do is pay everything with a corporation. So my Amazon is paid for with a corporate credit card. I have corporate credit, and um, is that new information, Leaf? Is that new info? I hopefully have a few books on the island and less internet. uh, anyway, uh, so if I'm going to try to be more private, then I use corporate credit cards, corporate presence. For example, on my Amazon, it's a corporate name. I don't put my personal name in there, and plus all the things that I always do with my internet connection. So, what do you need to do with your internet connection? And this is really really critical here for anyone trying to like stay off the grid. And staying off the grid isn't just not paying, for electric services and water services and plumbing services. Getting off the grid is like saying, don't put me in your surveillance zone. Take me off the surveillance. Don't try to go figure out how many guns I have. Not for you to know how many guns I have. Because I have my own shooting range in the back, and it's none of your business, right? That kind of thing. So, so, so that's the kind of environment that I'm theorizing here. When you can't get decent cable internet satellite, is better option. Well, obviously you don't have a choice. Don't tread on me. But anyway, how should you run your house with the internet now that let's say you're using whatever internet that you're using. So now that terminates into a modem. And how to use the internet so that you are not identified. Now, let me just tell you something that I've explained, day in, day out. There's no neighbors, Harry, Barry, or in Zucking Island. Here we have a system called fixed wireless. There's no neighbors. You're by yourself. Okay, but let me just explain something about how we are found today. So, in the old days, we are found by GPS. It's not the size of your gun, it's how you shoot it. Starry 200 megabytes. Back in the old, see now I forget what I'm talking about. What am I talking about? I read your comments and I lose what I'm saying. Somebody give me a hint. What was I just saying? What was I just talking about? Just the news breaking story, VPN. 10,000 listening on we are found today. Yes, how we are found today. So we are found today not by GPS. So back a decade ago, the only way you'd be located would be by GPS or cell towers or visual or some such thing, or lookout or smoke signals or there you go. Hello, Deanna. Twice now I've started a Compass email. So that's changed quite a bit, and I explained it yesterday. I will re-explain it to you again so you understand this little problem that we have here, okay? So somebody determined, Google primarily, I think the guy who made Pokemon Go, he may be the one. I'm not sure, but he was certainly involved with it. So they said, how do we find out locations, especially a more precise location that we can get from GPS. Let's. Uh, this is Tony. There's a zucking video. Nobody watches it on Alexa. This is so serious, Tony. There's a zucking video on who watches my video. I made a video about it. Nobody cares. So it's like, oh, we listen to you on Alexa. Yeah, nobody watched the video. I've been saying it over and over, so I just kind of gave up. Doesn't even get enough views. So somebody said that how do we get more accurate tracking of people in their location, given the limitations of GPS? And what are the limitations of GPS? GPS has to be line of sight. You have to see the GPS. So if you're inside a building, your device, the GPS signal isn't strong enough to go through walls and such. So you have to be outdoors. It's even a problem inside a boat. I mean, I'm in the open air, and it takes so long to get a triangulation for GPS. You've been telling us this for at least a year. No, I've been telling you this for how long have I been talking about Alexa? Yes, a couple of years, I think. So anyway, I'm getting old, Richard. So GPS has a problem because anytime you walk inside a house, the GPS stops. This is why I love this phone. Okay, this is my BlackBerry, and you can see it's on right now. Okay, I love this phone. So this has service, and this uses GPS. Uses GPS, and I turned it off. So I turned GPS off on this device. Okay, so it has the same limitation as all GPSs, which is that it can't go through the ceiling. They still make Android Blackberries. Don't buy any new Blackberries. They're not going to work the way this does. Alexa started dating Pokemon. So anyway, I love this because this has this exact limitation I'm talking about. 10 years ago, this was made 10 years ago, and it's looking up in the ceiling, and it can't get the signal for the GPS, and it's like, I don't know your location. What you think about 20 years ago? Blackberries are great antioxidants. Yeah. So that's why I love this phone, because it doesn't have the technology to go beyond GPS. I love the limitation of GPS. It's perfect. So when I'm outside, if GPS is on, I can still use it to find myself in the middle of a forest. But if I turn off the GPS, then I don't have to worry about it because there's no signal. Okay. So I love it. So this is the problem. Back in the day, they said these sucking devices are problems. They don't give you exact enough locations. So let's design new ones that will give you locations. And the location, of course, is based on somebody saying, well, what is out there in the world that has some fairly fixed and predictable locations? And what did they find? Well, the radio signals from your router. So each router emits a radio signal in 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz, identifying itself with a MAC address, which is the serial number of the device, and you know what the location is because you can say what your GPS position when you're standing somewhere, and they mapped out. So Google has a database of every single Wi-Fi router in the world. So pretty amazing that happened. That Google has a database of every single router in the world and its location. Now, they computed the location based on signal strength. There's this little formula they came up with. Hello, UK Gem. So, should be illegal? Hell no. You would say that, hey, but, nobody cares about privacy laws. So every single Wi-Fi in the world has a location. And some of you will say, well, Zuck that. I'm going to turn off my Wi-Fi. I'm going to spoof the web. I'm going to go to DDWRT and spoof the MAC address on my Wi-Fi. I'm going to go low level on my device and go flash a new MAC address on my Wi-Fi. On and on and on. Whatever you're going to do on your Wi-Fi adapter. And it doesn't matter that you turn off your Wi-Fi, there are plenty of Wi-Fis around you to find your location. They don't need your Wi-Fi. Your Wi-Fi is just nice, but in my area here, within range of my computer, there's at least 2 dozen Wi-Fis that can triangulate me. 2 dozen inside my house. 2 dozen routers. And I just added to that. Since I just added to my own new router, so I have 2 of these Raspberry Pis. So now I have, I myself have 4 of those routers. 1, 2, yeah, 4 routers. So not counting. No, I used to have. I used to have more, but I have 4 routers. So each one of these is now stored in the. Each router is stored in a database of Google, and they've mapped out the locations of each. Now, how do they map out locations in today's world? It was different. Back in the day, they used Street View cards to map out locations, but now they don't do that. They use Android. There's an Android right here. So every time I turn the sucker on, this is how bad it is, guys. Actually, I turned off the scanning feature. But every time, if you do not turn off the feature on your Android, every time you turn on any Android, this scans for Wi-Fi networks. By the way, would you like to know how to turn that off? You can turn off the capability of a Android to scan for Wi-Fi networks, so it doesn't add devices to the database, which doesn't really help, because if your neighbor walks by, or your male person walks by and has an Android, he'll record your Wi-Fi and send it. But if you want to not participate, you can actually go into let me see what category it is here. Is it security? Or is it Wi-Fi? Let me just is it in Wi-Fi? Let's see. Networks. Let's see, apps, Wi-Fi. Let me look at Wi-Fi, and let's see if advanced Wi-Fi. No, where is it? Just I mentioned this elsewhere before. Location. By the way, here there's Google location history, location server. You can turn this off right here now. They added this. So I turn off location on Google account Google activity controls. Okay, where do they have that again? Hold on, trying to. It's not under security. Accounts. No, that doesn't make any sense. Where did I find it before? Advanced. Under security. Let me see. No. Screen pinning. See, they keep moving. It's so hard to find these suckers. I mean, it's like, where are they hiding it? See, now I don't know where it is. I mean, if you don't use this every day, it's so difficult to figure out where the zuck they hide this. Network keep open, Wi-Fi automatically, Wi-Fi frequency band. Yep, don't know where it is. But there was a Wi-Fi. Yeah, but I don't see Wi-Fi preferences. Nope. Advanced. It's called Wi-Fi scanning. So I can't recall where it is. It's called Wi-Fi scanning. You got it. That's one you turn off. It's called Wi-Fi scanning, and now I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is. It's not in the Wi-Fi section. Let me see. More. In the more section, no. Data usage, no. Apps, no. Half century men rock. What the zuck does that mean? Okay, so search for. You can Google it for your version of Android, but I can't find it now. It's called Wi-Fi scanning. That's the thing I'm talking about, where it goes around the internet, goes around and listens to radio signals of routers, and then reports it to Google. And then it makes it a little bit of a database. So now, let's say you are in the War Games movie, David on the island in Washington, and you're in this island, and so you have no neighbors with androids. And you have a policy that if somebody gets into your island, you send your forces to them and confiscate their zucking androids or turn off the Wi-Fi scanning off. If you do that, in theory, then your Wi-Fi isn't going to be active for Wi-Fi triangulation. Okay, hey, you got the procedure there. Okay, so you go, if somebody comes into your island, you say, "Where's my gun?" You say, "Show me your zucking android. Show me your android right now." Okay, now go to settings, go to network, and whatever it is, turn off Wi-Fi scanning. And if you do that, then in theory, your device is not going to show up on Google. Now, drop the Android now, or I'll shoot. So in theory, now this is a fun thing. If you're in some remote part of Iceland and you have the only router, this is the funny thing about Wi-Fi triangulation, by the way. Wi-Fi triangulation works with 2 routers. It has to find 2 routers. So if it can't find 2 routers, you can't be triangulated. So if you only have 1 router, you're out nowhere in nowhere land, and you haven't been triangulated with no Android because you're in Iceland, or you're in the War Games movie, and you're. Do kids even know what the War Games movie is? They probably say, "I don't know what that is. Never heard of that." They don't know what the Whopper. So if you actually if you're the only Wi-Fi, then you're not going to get tracked. The problem is, in a city like I'm in the middle of LA here, okay? In LA, in Maxine Waters, near Maxine Waters district, there's going to be, millions of Wi-Fis here. Millions of Wi-Fis. So, okay, maybe not millions, maybe 500,000 Wi-Fis. Joshua. Yes. Are you old enough for that, John? Routers all over the damn place. Yeah, so there's routers in here, and all of these are beacons to location, much more precise than a zucking GPS. And by the way, if they didn't come up with this, I can just figure another way they're going to do this. They're going to drop little Wi-Fi. Let's say that old enough, yep. Let's say that somebody said, we're not making any headway with this, there's a law that says we can't use people's Wi-Fis for triangulation. You know what they're going to do? They're going to put their device on the telephone poles. Doesn't matter where you are. They're going to find some way to triangulate you. They'll say, well, we'll put a radio transmitter on every single transformer. The best way to win is not to play. You got to talk like a robot. So, yeah, you imagine, in the War Games, they were hacking into the computer by Whopper by dial-up. Yes, try to triangulate these nuts. Wi-Fi routers unite. Can you imagine? They'll probably make robot Wi-Fi routers, and the Wi-Fi routers will fly themselves on a drone and situate themselves in fixed areas where you can't reach them by hand, like on rooftops, or just the top of a telephone pole, and they'll hook themselves onto that, and no human intervention, and say, okay, we got your Wi-Fi triangulation anyway, so you have no zucking way out. We're gonna zuck you any way we can. So this is a possibility. So this is, I'm just saying how interesting it is, because we don't really have a solution here. Go wired instead. Now, that's where I was going with this. Hey, that is the actual answer. If you have an internet service and you want a little bit of safety, the solution actually is to go wired. Well, that's not entirely true, hey, because you're going to have to go desktop computer. Okay, basically you need a computer without a wireless. You without Wi-Fi. Why do they even care what we're doing? Because they can use it to manipulate you. Yeah, the problem is the sensor for tracking you is in each device. It's so cheap. They put it on your burner phone. So if you're saying like Tony, where's Tony again? Burner phones. I love burner phones. Zuck. Don't ever buy a Zucking burner phone. Waste of money. Better than a burner phone. Wi-Fi bot revolution to keep coffee bean prices low. This is better than a burner phone. Why? Because the location isn't going to be revealed by this. Whereas a burner phone, even if you paid cash, will reveal exactly where you live anyway. So what's the sucking point? They'll say, oh, burner phone, we know where you live. Oh, it's Tony. It's Tony's phone that he thinks he's hiding on mile marker 384, and then he brings it home, and then he takes off and plugs it in, and then while it's plugged in, we're recording his location and saying, oh, Tony, you move your phone from your burner phone from mile marker 34. You better dump that phone and get a new one. Then you got to get another phone, and then he puts the same SIM card from the other phone to the new phone, and he say, oh, we know who you are because you have the same SIM card from the other phone, which has the same ICC ID, and we already know it's attached to that phone with a different IMEI number, and now all we know is you change your IMEI number with the new one, so you're still zucked. So, no. Unfortunately, you can't completely hide, but at least you can partially hide with the bigger threats. I hide with the bigger threats with this. This is a better for hiding against the bigger threats. I can't hide from the government, though. That's not going to work. If Big Brother wants to track you, they can, because unless you drop cell phones completely. For 5G, more antennas is better, more precise triangulation. No, Wi-Fi triangulation has nothing to do with 5G. Nothing. Wi-Fi triangulation is based on a radio signal on 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz on your Wi-Fi router. And your device here has a receiver. So the receiver here is trying to track where all the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz here. Okay? So 5 gigahertz will be fiber optic. Well, yeah, I'm sure the trunk of it will be. What's the purpose of using Li-Fi if your device has Wi-Fi? Can you buy a Li-Fi device where you can excise the Wi-Fi? And it's built into the motherboard now. If you look at a Raspberry Pi like this, the Wi-Fi is embedded in the board. So you can't really, do anything. It's built to track. So anything with a Wi-Fi chip on it is tracking you. It's just amazing what they do. It's just amazing. We want to suck you left and right. They built an infrastructure for Big Brother that will last for generations. Zuck. And our answer is, we don't zucking care. We're zucking millennials. It's not important. We'd rather watch BTS. BTS is more important than what you're talking about. You can use Bluetooth to the Li-Fi adapter, but your device still has Wi-Fi web circuit. How do you take off the Wi-Fi from the device? It has a chip in it. How do you take the chip off? You're going to have to build your own device, like a desktop without Wi-Fi. There's no 5G has nothing to do with any of that. 5G is your internet connection. Wi-Fi is your connection to the router. You can't turn Wi-Fi. No. So I'm trying to tell you, hey, Wi-Fi is built in promiscuous mode. It can't be turned off. It's built in. If you have the hardware on it, the availability is there. It can be scanned. Since the software, in case you no, you can't do that web circuit. But let me just explain this to you so it's clear. So if you have a computer And WebCircuit says, "Oh, I'm gonna go to BIOS and go disable it," and then somebody will go and hack your computer using Intel AMT and turn on the BIOS. They can do that, you know. Hello, Justin B. So anyway, this is the way it works. Your computer has a Wi-Fi card, Wi-Fi adapter. In many cases, on a laptop, on a Raspberry Pi, on any small device, the Wi-Fi adapter is built into the motherboard, so you can't do anything. It's in the motherboard itself. Uh, Michi, you'll if you have Wi-Fi, then they'll you better be on you better be on. Yes, you can use my Tor router. Tor router. That'll save you right there. Okay. uh, when you're running a device with hardware Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi is always scanning for networks. And if you don't believe me, go to your phone. Go to your phone or any device you have. Go to the Wi-Fi section of Tor. Go to your device and go look at Wi-Fi. It will list the Wi-Fi's in there. That's the mode I'm talking about, where it detects the Wi-Fi's around you, which is built into every device. It's hardware, and it's always running, and it's called promiscuous mode. Okay, it's always running. It's a radio receiver, so doesn't send power. In order to use Wi-Fi to connect and send data, that's something else. But in order to find Wi-Fi's around you, it just uses promiscuous mode, and so there's actually no signal. So even if you turn it to airplane mode, it doesn't do anything because the receiving part of the phone is still working. Okay, it's the receiver that detects the Wi-Fi's, and what the receiver does is says, "Show me all the Wi-Fi's in the area," and then list their MAC address. So that is the part that locates you. Okay, as long as the device can look around for networks, and it doesn't have to connect to them at all. It just has to say, "Show me all the networks around me and what is their MAC address." That is enough to zuck you. That is enough to zuck you. So any device with Wi-Fi will zuck you. Even this has Wi-Fi. Okay, so this could, in theory, can zuck you as well. Here's the problem, folks. And lucky for me, that's why I love these. Okay, lucky for me, this is not running Android. I know all the programming languages. C, Murda. The question is which one I don't know. If it's brand new, I may not know it. But give me a few hours, I'll learn it. I can program in any language you can give me as long as there's documentation. I change languages as often as I can change pants. It doesn't matter to me. I can program in any language. I must know 50, 60 of them. I don't know. I lost track. Mostly I was a C programmer. Anyway, this thing does not have the software to read the MAC address information, the promiscuous mode I'm talking about. It doesn't have the software to read that and track that and send it. Showing off a bit. It's not showing off, boycott. It's just reality. I don't consider that showing off. To me, it's every day. Knowing a lot of programming languages is not a big... do you know of any good Faraday cage? I put a link in my location secrets or find my phone video. There's a Faraday bag in there. Justin, there's a Faraday bag. Desolder it? Yeah, you will probably... many devices, if you disconnect the hardware, it won't go to a hardware check and it will fail. The OS will fail it. COBOL... I learned COBOL in school, and I never, ever used it. They should mass produce that BlackBerry. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Started on Fortran, then RPG, then COBOL. My first job programming was Fortran. RPG sucks. I studied COBOL, never used it in real life. I only used it in school. And then from then on, I know... assembly language, C, C++, PHP, Python, On and on and on. Ruby, I don't like Ruby, but are you saying that iPhone is in airplane mode will it doesn't transmit MSAF, it receives. Transmission is not part of the equation. Okay, you can still buy the old phones. Yes, Sup Sam, it's in my video. The link to the exact model, because you got to get the exact model. Can BlackBerry be loaded on a laptop? No. So, Sup Sam, it's in my video on YouTube. Find flip phones and find the exact link, because you got to get the exact phone. If you get the wrong one, it won't work. BlackBerry will soon be at Walmart as Wallberries. What was the question again? C. Murda, in your opinion, which language thing is the most complicated? Well, obviously, assembly language is the most complicated, but most people aren't going to use that. Yes, the most complicated programming language is assembly. Probably the next level most complicated language is C. And in today's world, I don't even suggest people use C. If you want to do C-like things, I would suggest to use Python. And then you can do pretty much everything you can do in C. It's a lot faster and simpler than using C itself. Okay? A little lower, it's a lot lower. What about Linux? Same problem with Wi-Fi. Linux doesn't have the utilization. When you're running Linux, you do not utilize the data from the promiscuous mode. So it's an OS problem. So the two things that allow you to be tracked are, one, the device has to have Wi-Fi, A. Two, the device has to have an OS that takes the Wi-Fi location and sends it somewhere. So therefore, which ones are you worried about? I'm going to tell you which ones you worry about that will send the location data. The OSs that will send location data are, well, it's not just an OS. The browsers. Okay, which browsers will send the location data? Chrome and Firefox will definitely send the exact data with the MAC address and all that. Chrome and Firefox. Firefox is easier to disable. Chrome is a little bit more tricky, okay, because it remembers if you ever gave it permission once, it keeps it. So you have to keep going in there and deleting any one that you gave location rights to, okay? So Chrome itself can read the values from the hardware if the OS allows it. BlackBerry does not do the scanning, so this is okay, but you still have to turn location off since it has GPS. Okay. iOS, any version of iOS, I mean iPads, iPhones, they all have the tracking. It's used in Find My Phone. It's also on all the Macs. So if you have a Mac, it will also find your location. Exactly. Okay, within 6 feet, using this triangulation method, promiscuous mode and all that. So the only, if you want to solve a little bit of it, and you want to use existing solutions and you want to have a secure environment, one of the ways to do it is to use a desktop and without a Wi-Fi card. You see, without the Wi-Fi card, they can't triangulate the positions of Wi-Fi's around you, so they can't report your exact location. And of course, a desktop does not have GPS. So you cannot be located in any way other than by IP address on a desktop. If you use a VPN on a desktop, I wonder if Snowden uses a desktop, because Snowden, in theory, he doesn't carry a phone. He doesn't carry a phone. So if you have a desktop without a Wi-Fi card, this is the important thing, without a Wi-Fi card, then nothing, it doesn't matter if you're using Windows, Mac, whatever, none of that will really matter if you don't have a Wi-Fi card on the hardware. And then use the VPN over it, Bytes VPN. Then use the VPN. Now, the problem with the VPN is still, it's only one exit point. And depending what you're doing, that may not be enough to hide your location. If you're David from what's the guy's name? Uh, what's his last name? Did we ever figure out his last name in the War Games movie? David with Joshua. What's his last name? Anyway, uh, you will need Tor to really evade getting a fixed location. So in combination with what I'm talking about, let me just explain this to you. Let's say you're on Tor, because some of you asked me this question, and if you're not thinking about this, you're still getting zucked. You're on Tor. You're on a Tor router, so you have one of my Tor routers like this. Okay. Remember this a Tor router will tunnel all of your traffic through the dark web and coming out of 800 exit nodes, and so they won't be able to find out where you're coming from. However, your location data is being sent through a different channel. It's not actually part of TCP/IP itself. It's another protocol on top of it. So they will send your location data if you allow it through the other channels of your browser. This is the part that people don't understand. It's another element in there. So it's not enough to say I'm going to use Tor. You got to change procedures. You got to turn location off on the device, and if you want to really be super secure, I would take off the. I will make sure that I'll build my own computer and not have it have Wi-Fi. David Lightman, is that his name in the movie? How come I don't remember that? Oh, Falcon. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Falcon. Professor Falcon, right? Or something? Wasn't he David Falcon? And then Joshua? Stephen. See, somebody gave me wrong information. It's Stephen Falcon. Yes. Stephen Falcon on the island. Thank you, Entire Meyer. Good info. Maybe you could say C or Rust, but not Python. What? You suggest Python for C replacement? That's insane. You're not going to be writing low-level stuff like kernel modules or device drivers with Python. Yes, but most people are not writing low-level kernel modules or device drivers with Python. They're writing applications, in which case, why are you getting into C? If you're going to write low-level applications, then you should do C. Justin, come on. Common sense. But, a normal programmer isn't going to be writing that unless you work for the hardware company. So most of us don't have a need to be writing drivers unless we're building hardware. So if you're building hardware, yes, write it in C. But if you're in the software business building apps, probably not. Although, if you make Apple apps, you have to use Swift or Objective-C and so on, which is kind of like a version of C++. So, which is actually, damn complicated. You know why it's damn complicated to use like some of the mobile app languages? Because the documentation isn't very clear. It's like the documentation is so difficult. So thanks to IMDb, the documentation is so difficult that's really half the delay. It's like, how do you do that? Because, it's like they cover it up in that's why I hate like these advanced programming, so-called advanced programming languages. What they do is they abstract it in layers and layers of somebody's ideas over it, and you don't know what the fuck is going on. That's why I like using C, because I don't even like C++. The reason I don't like C++ is because somebody else is like, I don't like Windows implementation of C++, MFC, Microsoft Foundation classes. That's why. For Python, yes, I would say Python is very good for doing much of anything, especially with internet related stuff. Just like I don't like Microsoft Foundation classes, C# is a lot easier to understand, yes. I haven't done C# in a long time now. Haven't done C sharp in a long time. Last time I may have done C sharp was 10 years ago. Yeah. Because I don't like, forcing people to load, 10 million gigabytes of Microsoft stuff before you can do anything. So I like portability. So that's why I used my own. I created my own servers. Back in the day, I created my own web servers, created my own web clients, created my own encryption between the devices, and so to this day, many servers are running with my software on it as their server. It doesn't use a web server. It uses my own because I wrote them. So a lot of medical facilities use that, and it's encrypted, and I wrote it. So, and that's how they traverse the internet. You connect to it, and it connects to my own server, and the server establishes connections and passes traffic, kind of like a web server, but in a much more restricted way, and specifically for running my own clients. So I even wrote the client side. So I wrote the server side, the client side. I've lots of experience with doing all this. What was the comment again? About web languages. I use PHP for my app. My app runs PHP on the server, and obviously it has to run JavaScript on your computer. But these layers of abstraction can have great utility when it comes to concurrency or distributed computing. Justin B, that's why you use Python. But I'm going to tell you, somebody puts all these abstraction things in programming languages, and when you can't figure it out because there's a bug or there's something unclear, you're like scratching your head and you say, I wish I know what the zuck you're doing here, because you're going to have to keep guessing and you're going to keep testing. I'm going to tell you a little reason why I hate doing that. Way back in the day, Bill Gates demonstrated my software at a computer keynote speech. So he was doing a keynote speech, and Bill Gates was using my software to show off this little product that Windows made. They call it Windows for Pen Computing. Okay, so Windows for Pen Computing was released, and they were showcasing my product, which uses Windows for Pen Computing. And I used Microsoft API using C to do Windows for Pen Computing. It was written in C. Okay? 3 years later, when they released Windows 95, Microsoft dumped the API for Windows for Pen Computing. They dumped it. They said, we're not going to support Windows for Pen Computing in Windows 95. So then I was like, zuck you. What am I supposed to do? And we got all these devices that use pen computing, and, so I was ahead. I was using handwriting and all that, and pen devices on portable computers with wireless way before any. We were one of the first. In fact, I even got funding from the cellular companies back then. It's called CTIA, the Cellular Telecommunications Industry. What is Alliance? Anyway, they funded us, and Zendos for Zen Computing, and they terminated support for Windows for Pen Computing, and then on top of that, they went from 16-bit to 32-bit, so that double issue. They not only they transformed to 32-bit from 16-bit, they said, oh, sorry, we're not going to support this platform anymore. So it was like, zuck you. After they showcased my product, and then they said, we're going to go, cut you off at the legs. So Bill Gates cut us off at the legs and say, sorry, we're going to zuck you now. So you know what I had to do? I had to write my own code to replicate Windows for Pen Computing. So I had to, whatever API that Windows for Pen Computing was doing, I had to write my own in C. And it's like, zuck you, mother zuckers. So from then on, I said, I'm not going to believe when somebody comes up with an API. No, I want low level. I want low level because I don't want to trust any company to give me stuff. So when somebody says, I'm going to give this to you, I'll say, will you be around to give it to me? It's not Microsoft is not a good company. Well, it was, considered the only company for computing back then. So, but anyway, that sustained us for, a long time because I wrote the software and still runs to this day. And since it's my own API, I never used the Microsoft API related to that ever again. Windows on Windows 32 DLL. You still doing that, WebCircuit? Come on. Well, that's why my arch nemesis is Dilbert Managers. What is the specific BlackBerry phone you use, Ra? John, it's in my video. Just click the link on the video. Because you have to get an exact one. Because, So, if I give you a name now and it has to be exact. There are many versions of this, even with the same model number. So I actually made a link, and then I bought from that link on Amazon, so I know it's correct. Okay? And I refuse Apple products too. I refuse to use anything Microsoft. And you probably say, Justin says, I only use open source. I actually do. I don't install Microsoft Office. I don't have any of that. Everything I use is also open source, Justin. Because I don't trust anything. It's just going to give me malware. So, I don't need any fancy features. If there's anything fancy that I need, I'll write my own. So, Justin, you can trust me, and I made my own software. You may not trust me, but I trust myself. I use OpenOffice. I don't use Libre. I use OpenOffice. I use OpenOffice. I don't use any of the Apple products for doing anything. I program. I use open source tools, everything. And so it doesn't matter what I'm programming. I can shift from a Mac to a PC to Linux. It's exactly the same for me. I don't care what the platform is. You just give me a computer. All my stuff is in the cloud. Download the files. Use the same software on all of them. And it will work fine. I just write everything into what is it? Latex. Yeah, so I just write everything in latex. Now, what is latex? Is that some other open source thing I'm not familiar with? I don't use that. I don't use that, whatever that is. Because why do I need to write in anything else but an ASCII file and save it to encrypted to my servers? That's all I need to do. So everything is ASCII files saved encrypted. I don't need to worry about anything. So that's my methodology. I can imagine just the people spying on me saying, now we know your methodology. Now we know how to zuck you up. So you can't send me a word virus. It's not going to work. You can't send me a script of any sort. You can't send me a some VB script thing or anything like that. It's not going to do anything to me. You're old school. I'm surprised you didn't use latex in university back then. Justin B, I may be too old school that I don't know what latex is. Okay. Justin B, I'm more old school than you, so I'm even old school than that. Mr. Stuck told me that in America that we can trust him. Mr. Stuck told you what? Told me in America that we can trust him 100%. Have you used Parallels on a Mac? Did I? Yes, I have. I installed Parallels. I'm not sure if I actually spent much time running Parallels on a Mac. I use mostly VirtualBox on a Mac. VirtualBox.
if you encrypt it and put it in a stenography, then post it publicly. I use VirtualBox on a Mac when I was running Unix on a Mac, because that's what I was using for Unix. I was using VirtualBox. I tried using what is it, the Windows 10 VM, the virtual machine on Windows, VMware, and just so many problems. So uh, there's just so many. VirtualBox is seamless mode, which I think is similar to Parallels, if I remember correctly. I no longer use neither. Yes, Hyper-V. Yes. So Hyper-V has a little bit of a problem with some consumer models. I had an HP and I tried to use Hyper-V on my computer, and it said I needed a passcode from the manufacturer. I said, "What the zuck is that?" And there was no support. You couldn't figure out how to get the zucking passcode. So it's like zuck that. So I just another waste of time. So on a new computer, you can't even run Tails. You can't insert Tails into the USB and boot it like the old days. It doesn't work anymore. So the only real practical solution now is keep Tor away from your computer and do it on a separate device like this. This is a Tor router. This is a Tor router that I made. Now, why is it easier than a Tor router than, let's say, because you can get my Bytes VPN that has Tor routing too. That also has Tor route. Where I'm trying to point my finger here. Where is it? There. Okay. So that's Bytes VPN has Tor routing included. That's an option. This is a hardware model though. Okay, and the advantage of the hardware model is, if you use this, is, first of all, it's free. There's no subscription to this, so you can once you buy the device, then there's no more there's no additional cost, since you can use it free forever, and it's end to end. Since you have the device, then you have more security, since there's nothing in the middle. It's between you and Tor. You're not involved. Okay, Justin doesn't trust me anyway, so yes, you can go now, Justin, since you don't trust me anyway. So anyway, this is a hardware model, and it's because of the end-to-end nature of it, then it's actually the most secure way you can do Tor routing, and then you don't have to worry about hardware and using Unix, Tails, cubes, because those are so complicated, and they don't work on all devices. So they're very, very complicated, and they don't work in mobile, whereas this will. This works in mobile, so you plug it in and you have Tor, and that's it. Now, the nice thing, what I did with this is something I've been selling, since a year ago, and what I did was I made it now to be a VPN router or a Tor router or a regular router. So when you buy this, I configure it the way you want before I ship it. Then all you do is plug it in, and it's already configured to be either a VPN router, a Tor router, or a standard router. And then you can plug a keyboard. There's a HDMI port in the center there. That's an HDMI port, the center. And then there's USB ports here for keyboard. There, USB port for keyboard. And then you can actually operate it in its menu. Thank you, John. Hope you're liking it. So it's menu driven, and then you don't have to really do anything. You just select from the menu, and it's pretty darn simple. Okay? So I myself have two of these in my house running at the same time, production. I obviously sell them, so I have others that I'm making. But for as far as my house setup, I have the new ones are 5 gigahertz. I need my AT adapter to PS adapter to USB adapter. No web circuit. You go to Zucking store, you get yourself a keyboard for $5 and call it a day. Or order a $5 USB keyboard from Amazon and there you go. Or are they $9.99? Some amount like that. Okay, get yourself a keyboard from Amazon, and then you can plug into your TV because your TV probably has HDMI, right? So there, plug it into your TV, and you're good to go. So this is an awesome device. Now that it's kind of like second generation with VPN routing and Tor routing, and this is the way. The nice thing about having your traffic go to a router like a VPN router or a Tor router is that 100% of your traffic from your house will only go to this. Therefore, it will not escape, and you're not going to have a problem with somebody finding your identity, because if it loses the connection, it just stops working. Meaning, it won't have a leak. Because many times when something leaks and just turns on to the internet and then you're exposed, this will just stop working. So anyway, this is in my store. I believe I discussed it in the video privacy gadgets on YouTube. So if you watch that, you'll see what this is about. You'll see the menus, and many of you have already bought one. So yes, this is $149, and it's if you have an old version, you can still upgrade those for $54, $54.95. Fail open circuit not closed. What does that mean, web circuit? But this one is a newer model. This is 5 gigahertz with a gigabit Ethernet. The old one does not have that. The old one is only 10100 Ethernet and a 2.4 gigahertz. Raspberry Pi is $35. Yeah, the Raspberry Pi hard. If you ever break the board, you can buy the board for $35. Yeah, open up, get $35. Then you got to buy the case, the power supply, the SD card, and all that, and the software. So the hardware itself will cost you around $70. So it's $35 for the motherboard and all the other parts. And if you buy it yourself, it will cost you $70. So that is not a big secret. Okay, so who said that? Having fun always? Yes, you are correct. It is in fact $35 for the motherboard and the rest. So with the power supply, this is $70 hardware, but I sell it for $149 with the software. It's a VPN router or a Tor router, and it hides your traffic from the internet, so they can't find you. So if you want to disappear, and so that nobody, yeah, the base hardware is a Raspberry Pi B+. Yeah, so this is a Raspberry Pi B+. Yeah, you could make this to a rubber ducky. Having fun? Do you have one of those? You can make this into a portable a big version of a rubber ducky. Active rubber ducky. In case you don't know what a rubber ducky is, it's a little USB stick that can be used to quickly hack somebody. But a lot of software don't run anymore with that because they have protection. I love my rubber duckies. They're all over the place. The newer computers have a USB lock, so you can't do your rubber duckies the same way anymore. So, ham radio antenna. What does that mean, Jerry? So, yeah, you can't do that anymore. They're getting smarter. So every year, the computer from last year and this year, they have all these protections against that. Obviously, I'm in cybersecurity good times. Is it good times? So anyway, I make these. this is a cybersecurity broadcast and talk about cybersecurity. So obviously, I am in cybersecurity. I am the maker of the app called Brex.me as well. So anyway, Robert Zucky's rock. So anyway, please check out this device. It's pretty awesome. It's on my video on YouTube called Good Times. Watch my video on YouTube. It's called Privacy Gadgets, and then you can see how this is actually working in real life. And then I also sell a VPN service right there, bytesvpn.com, which has Tor routing capabilities. This is a software solution where you don't have to worry about hardware and everything is done in the cloud, including the Tor routing. And that's the other way to protecting yourself if you're on the go, like if you have, mobile. That case does not use a fan. It does not need a fan. No, I've never had it overheat yet. For our use, it doesn't overheat. It depends on the use. If you're hyperclocking the thing, it may overheat for the particular use. In the use that we put it through, no. For just as a router, no. You study computer science. I did not study computer science, Good Times. I studied medicine. 8 gig, not hot. 8 gig, not hot. What is 8 gig not hot? I like cybersecurity. Yes, I did not study cybersecurity. I studied medicine. You don't need a fan if you run it in liquid nitrogen. I hate computer science. Yeah, so you put a not a SIM card, you mean an SD card. An SD card, not a SIM card. So, look at some of my protection. So I use these. I use Tor routers, VPN routers, and Tor routers. When you buy it from me, I give you a 16 gigabit one, but it can handle any size. SD SIM duck. It can handle any size. Whatever size you want. You can get a I don't know if it will support it, but terabit SD card probably will run it. You still THC nutrients plus more. You still oh, that makes sense, Dr. Braxton. 124, you can add games on a Raspberry Pi. So these are some of my toys for protection. So I use this. Let's say I'm in my island and I need to go somewhere. They charge you like $500 for that terabyte SD card. Or is it $800? It's not cheap web circuit. I don't think you'd want to have one. Put the SD card in there and put a standard flash, USB instead of multiple USB cards instead of one big giant one. So this is some of my protection gadgets. So I have if I need to go around without location tracking, I carry around, for everyday use, I carry around a BlackBerry. This little device, which is so neat, supports, even 10 years ago, this thing supported micro SD cards. So I put my music in it. So all of my music is in there. I have, it has Bluetooth. So I go into my car and it's running just like my iPhone, and I can accept calls and I can text, and there's some minimal internet stuff in here that I can do. There's email. I don't know how to use the email. But for the simple thing of what I need to use it for temporarily, why I turn off my iPhone, can I play sensitive information in my Google Drive? Yes, you want Google to like what you post? Yes, put it on Google Drive. I would never put anything on fucking Google Drive. Oh, you want Google Photos too? Anybody like to store your photos on Google Photos? Oh, we don't trust putting photos on Brax.me because we don't trust you. So I'm gonna put my photos on Google Photos, where they do facial recognition, and then you might show up in Google, reverse, search, lookup. Oh, perfect. Do that. Google Photos. Maybe I should scope about that. Google Photos, Alexa. Maybe tomorrow I should talk about that. Goog equals keylogger. Is that the new description of a keylogger having fun? Goog. So yeah, so this I like it because I put a SIM card in with temporary phone numbers, and it texts, it does the basic things, and while I'm on it, I am not being surveilled. No surveillance. Now I still have my iPhone, but I can turn it off. By the way, I'm booting my sneaker net from the 1980s. I just want to make this comment, by the way. Some of you have iPhones. Some of you are on network security. Yeah, read your books. You read your books, Charlie. I've never taken any zucking. As my employees took all of the certification exams. I have never been certified in anything in my life. Neither do I need to be. I remember the story. This goes so far back, okay? This is so far back. So Microsoft introduced this new product in the 90s. It was called Windows NT. Okay? Some of you may remember what that is. Some of you were not born when Windows NT came around. Well, if you have life experience, it's probably better than the certification. So anyway, Windows NT. So Windows NT, I was invited to go to Microsoft. I went to Microsoft, and they said, okay, we need to certify. It's for servers, great goals, not for home use. So they said, now it's called Windows Server. Okay, so they said we'll need to certify. So I was in the first class for certification on Windows NT. Okay, so I was in the first class for certification on Windows NT, and as they were explaining all this and say yada yada yada, and then they give you a little exercise to see if you knew what it is. And I was teaching everyone. By the end of the class, I was teaching other people. I said, okay, got it. Then they said, okay, if you want to take the certification test, I said, I'm not going to waste my time taking some zucking certification tests. I taught people in the room. So it's like, no, I don't need certification. You can, who am I trying to impress? I was the boss anyway. So I think my employees got certification. I don't need certification. I know how to do it. Yeah. So my all of my employees probably had some sort of certification, but I wasn't going to measure them on certification. I was going to measure them on how they actually can do their job. Windows NT or much better than Millennium Edition. Well, it's Windows Server. What's the current Windows Server? I don't even know I don't even do Windows anymore. I don't do. What is the Windows Server date now? I lost track. I think the last server I installed was Windows 2012 or something. I don't think I've installed anything after that. I stopped using Windows then. So I have not installed any. It's 2018, Windows Server 2018. Yeah, I have not installed any Windows Server since. I only install Linux servers. So all my servers are Linux. Zucked all that Microsoft stuff. Zuck all that. We don't need any of that. It's all boring stuff. So anyway, what was I saying though? I was saying something about before I got into this tangent. I was talking about something else. Windows Server 2019. Okay. Is it actually out? Is Windows Server 2019 even out? I fell in love with DOS and married my right hand. What the fuck does that mean? What the hell does that mean, Jerry? I don't understand what that means. So, What do you need to be safe on the internet? Is it enough to say I have a VPN, I got a Tor router, I got devices that don't track me by location, I got a desktop without Wi-Fi. If I don't really want to get tracked, is that enough? It just came out, they're behind. Yeah, it just came out, they're behind. Yeah, it's behind Linux. So I'll just stick to Linux, which is harder to hack than that Windows 2019 that you have. Okay, I'm sure Windows is easier to hack. So on top of that, do you think you're already safe on the internet? And the answer is still no, because the rest of your security on the internet depends on things you actually do, not the equipment. So every time you log in, if I wanted a server, I would roll my own. Azure looks nice, kinda. No, I don't use Azure. I use AWS or a private ISP. It's like, what the zuck is Azure supposed to do for me? No interest in Azure at all. It's kind of limiting. They don't have everything on there. AWS is more, and when I don't want to use AWS, I just go to my own uh, cheaper ISP. There are many cheaper ISPs than Azure, so I'll fire up my server. AWS is for kiddies, kitties or kitties. AWS is the one that can do your facial recognition. Come on. If you want facial recognition, use AWS. Come on, if Kelp knows this, he's in law enforcement. He knows they use. He knows they use that. Just so you know, I was here. Yes, Kelp, I know you were here the moment you showed up, and that AWS is for script kiddies. Nowadays, if you're completely off grid, makes you highly suspicious. Well, they can be highly suspicious, but they don't know who they're suspicious of. Perry Pilot, you're off the grid and suspicious, but who are they suspicious of if they don't know who you are? I have an answer for that, Perry Pilot. I'd like to answer that, Perry Pilot. That's a good question, by the way. That is really a good comment. So we'll close it out with this discussion. Kelp is Rob. We'll close it out with this discussion, okay? Only for the criminals. All else, what have you got to hide, right? Oh, Kelp, you're hopeless. Okay, so uh, uh, the answer, Perry Pilot, is to create a web identity. Create one. Who says you're going to be off the grid? No, you're going to have a disinformation entity on the grid. And you control what that entity does, and you control what can be seen about that identity. And that is the way you survive in this world. You have your non-off the grid identity and a off the grid identity, and that's how you will not stick out like a sore thumb. It's a pretty good idea, right, Perry Pilot? This is called disinformation. So let's say you go to you go to immigration customs of some country, and they go check out your internet, and you show them, here's my Facebook, and you put whatever you want to put on there to, this middle of the road kind of personality, and you put it on your phone, and there's your identity. Don't get your finger hit. Don't just hit with don't hit your finger with a hammer, and it won't be a sore thumb. There you go. So actually, that's disinformation. Unfortunately, is a complex topic, and many of you already have existing identities. And if I were you, I'd think about saying, let's give this some thought. Is there a way to convert an existing identity into a disinformation identity. This is why I told people, if you want to use my photo in some profile on Facebook, you can do so. I have no certification either. I don't know how I've gotten hired. Okay, so if you want to use, just don't use my name. You can use my photo and say I'm this guy, and that's fine with me. Just don't commit a crime and don't use my name. You just work here. Hi, I just work here. Do you mean you work at Periscope? Having fun? Now I got to check your profile here. Are you saying you work at Periscope? Whoa. Twitter falter. You have a lot of followers, or no, you don't. You have a lot of people following you. Let's see, who's following you? I don't know the people following you. It's just a bunch of women following you. It's like probably Open Bob's people. Okay, I'll follow you so I can keep an eye on you having fun. There, followed you now. That way I can keep an eye on what you're up to. As they say, keep your enemies close. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. Thanks, having fun. You're not an enemy. Just kidding. Just kidding. I even followed somebody who didn't even have a profile pic because he shared my scope and he didn't even have a profile pic. I don't know how I was able to. Rob, we better than that. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. You have to bury your enemies. That is not the rule. That is not the rule. So hopefully, guys, you had fun. Again, thank you for our success in moving to the next level. I share with my one other follower. I'm feeling too close. Thank you for helping me reach 4K hours on YouTube, which we achieved last Thursday. So my account is now under review for monetization on Facebook, and then Facebook. No Facebook. Google will have super chats available, so people can give me super chats on YouTube next when that's approved. And for those of you who want to consider my products, again, please watch the video new privacy gadgets, where I talk about this little device there. And then the video, this video that talks about this is called flip phones. And then I have another video that talks about, where did I put it? UB keys, hardware authentication. So this is my UB key for hardware authentication. There's another video on that. And then you can check out my VPN product, bytesvpn.com, which also comes with Tor routing. I'm going to binge watch several of them this evening. Well, that's excellent, Kelp. You can even write your negative comments on there and disagree with everything, as you always do. You can put your negative comments on there. So, okay, that takes care of 2-factor. How about 3-factor? WebCircuit, my Twitter has 5-factor, and they still suspended it. Yes, I'm familiar with Notepad+. It's just a version of Notepad with that supports Linux type, slash character return line feed. Yeah, so if you're gonna edit like Linux files, you install Notepad. You have to install it though. Used to come with it, but now you gotta install it yourself. Why are you asking about Notepad+? The other thing is, for those of you who understand my message and my goal to promote privacy and to protect our privacy and support me in the Brax army that's trying to do this. I have a Patreon account as well, and I haven't been talking about Patreon because the account was under review, and so I didn't know what that was all about. But they have released a review. The account is now open, so I have a Patreon account, and if you believe in what I do and want to support, this is all I do for a living, is to support you with these products, and it's a full-time thing to make these videos and create content for you, and plus do 3 hours a night of broadcasting, and so any support you give is very, very appreciated to keep this going. So it's a difficult thing, and it's a full-time proposition to do this. I've turned this into a full-time thing, and unfortunately, when you do it full-time, you basically do it with no income. Jerry, please support me then. You should be honest and tell them they are pucked and we all out of luck. Zucked. You are zucked. Yes, having fun always. You are zucked, but the battle isn't over, and we're trying to push forward in a very, very difficult battle. I'm fighting players with tons of money, and I have none. Okay, I'm fighting players like Zuck with his billions, and I have none, and I have to tell you all the way he's tricking you, and I don't have any way of. I'm trying to learn regular pressure. That's why I ask. What? Charlie. Anytime I need to figure out regular expression because I can't remember the syntax, I just Google it. Because it's like Zuck. This is about the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Regex is like so stupid. It's like the worst thing you can imagine. It's like some programmer decided we're gonna make it into the most confusing thing ever. So you're saying you're gonna get tested on that? It's like Zuck that. If I need anything from that, I just Google it. Google it. Yes, makes my blood boil. It's like, what the zuck are you saying here? All these little, little markings on there. It's like, so. There's Perry Pilot. Virtual cookies flying over at 737 Max. Nothing regular about regular expressions. You obviously are one of the most passionate people who believes in privacy I'm the only one, Mystic Deanna. It's zucked up. I'm the only one. I should be ultra popular on YouTube just because nobody else talks about what I talk about. The problem is nobody wants to know. So it's kind of depressing when nobody wants to know what I'm talking about. So I'll be back tomorrow, and the only change in schedule for next week is there will be no broadcast on Easter Sunday. So next week, I'm not going to broadcast on Easter Sunday. Other than that, everything is on normal schedule. I'm broadcasting tomorrow. Thank you, Deanna. I'm broadcasting tomorrow. I'm broadcasting after tomorrow on Friday. So there's on Good Friday. I don't have any broadcasts in between. I'm going to make videos in the middle of the week. Okay. So you just expect some videos to show up in the middle of the week. No broadcast in the middle of the week unless something happens to Assange or something like that. Then I might do it. I have ADD, attention deficit. Oh wait, what was I talking about? I don't know. WebCircuit. Anyway, thank you for coming, guys. And can I get assistant, please, with Bob's? That's easy. Go to some porn site. You'll get assistance. Thank you for teaching. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you. Okay, so see you on Braxme as well. Oh, one more thing. I'm working on putting using Google Authenticator for logging into Braxme or Authy, but not in a Monterey kind of way. That's okay, Jerry. Is it in a Portland kind of way? So I'm working on, giving you an alternate way to log into Brax. me using Google Authenticator or any software authenticator, and I'm working on that this in the next few days. Okay, I might delay releasing it till midweek, but I already have it running, so I'm still tweaking it. So I just wanted to let you know that. And the reason I did this project is so that if you do not want to include your email, that you can do so. So you have a way to recover a password, or to be able to log in even if you lose your if even if I don't have email or text, then you can still keep your account. So that is coming up in this coming week. And another attempt of mine to get less information from you. The less I know about you, the better. So if I don't have your email, if I don't have your phone number, then it's obviously better for you. So I'm working on that, and that'll show up the next few days. Okay? So thank you for watching, and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow. Doc, what you heard... Thank you. Justin is still here. I thought you already left, Justin. Thank you, guys. So please support products, support me in all those platforms, and watch the videos that talk about some of these devices. Thank you, my friends. Good night. Bye-bye.